How can a government not mislead anyone when the numbers don't match the story they told us for weeks?
Former lawyer, you'll be familiar with the concept of people offering the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
The result of that was there was £16 billion less than we might otherwise have had. So we had, on the one hand, £16 billion less than we might otherwise have had. We had clear commitments that we'd made throughout the process as to what it was we were going to achieve. Therefore, against that backdrop, it was inevitable that we would always have to raise revenue.
Because the messaging today from Keir Starmer is generous, let's put it politely. According to Starmer, he and Rachel Reeves were completely honest throughout the budget process, despite the OBR confirming there was no $30 billion black hole, and despite the Chancellor repeatedly hinting at tax rises because of that supposed black hole. Now fast forward to today, and suddenly the story is that they didn't mislead anyone because they were actually dealing with a $16 billion productivity gap instead. You see the shift? It's subtle, but it's there. It's misinformation again. Starmer's line today is basically, we always had to raise taxes, so the warnings were justified. But the issue isn't whether taxes were going up. The issue is why they told the country something totally different to what the OBR had already told them. And the public remembers those briefings. For weeks, the message was, brace yourselves, there's a huge fiscal hole. Now the OBR says that hole didn't exist. And instead of accountability, Starmer says he's bemused by the OBR's timing. Not angry, just bemused. Almost as if the OBR surprised him by publishing the information before the political messaging had finished doing its job. Reeves, meanwhile, warned of income tax rises because of this so-called hole, even though the Treasury actually had a surplus. And then when asked today whether that was misleading, Starmer says no, because you mustn't rule anything out early. Convenient explanation, but it doesn't change the fact the public was primed for a crisis the OBR says wasn't real. Then we got the extra twist. Starmer saying the budget was minus $16 billion was a very bad starting point, as if that number justifies the earlier messaging. But again, this wasn't the number they used when speaking to the public. They used $30 billion because it landed harder and it helped justify revenue raising across the board. And while all of this is going on, Reeves has exempted 110 social housing properties worth $2 million from her own mansion tax policy. Convenient carve-outs while everyone else prepares for the bill. It raises a simple question. If the information was so clear behind the scenes, why didn't the public get the same clarity? People are not, well, I was going to say people aren't silly, but some are. They know when the story doesn't line up with the facts, and today's explanation, like a bedtime story, hasn't cleared anything up. If anything, it's just confirmed what a lot of people already suspected.